All right, guys, today I want to talk about how you can retire from dividends. There's four main principles that are going to be key if you want to retire from dividends. The first one is focus. You really have to focus on making retiring and building that portfolio and stacking the bricks as a priority of you if you do want to retire from dividends. You can't today decide in 5 years I'm going to retire from dividends and not focus on that, because without the continued focus, you're not going to hit your goal. The other thing you want to do is you want to avoid yield chasing. Now, it's real tempting to chase a yield of a stock, say that's earning 5, 6, 7% in dividends, but there's usually a reason why that stock is yielding so much. It's usually a beaten down company that doesn't have future growth prospects and more than likely is going to either eliminate or cut their dividend in the future. So you really, as tempting as it is, you really need to avoid doing the yield chasing. All right, the next thing you need to do is you need a big nest egg. If you run the percentages, you really need a fairly large nest egg to retire from dividends. If you're looking to retire early from dividends, you'll probably need an even bigger nest egg because things don't always go to plan. You know, some companies that even do look promising long term cut their dividends. So you really need a big nest egg, and it should be bigger than what you think. You should have what we're going to call here a margin of safety. Now, this margin of safety should be in your nest egg. You should have a bigger nest egg than what you really think you need, like we just talked about, but you should also have a margin of safety in your purchases. You should be buying stocks that are of value and not just simply buying a stock because it pays a dividend. There's a big difference there, and by buying with that margin of safety gives you some downside risk protection. So these are the four key principles, but there's some other things you can do to kind of supercharge that'll make you a lot more comfortable and less stressed by simply trying to live off of dividends. So if you have an interest, you can start a side business. Now, maybe that's a YouTube channel on something you're interested about. Maybe it is creating something and selling it locally. There's not one way to do that, but you should do something that is extremely flexible, right? You're not having to do this 40 hours a week or more. It could be something fairly easy that you enjoy doing, so it's not like going to a day job. The other thing you can do is work part-time. Now, there's a lot of people I know that either retire early or retire at a normal retirement age, and they simply just miss the interaction with people, and they decide to work part-time. And now that does two things. It improves the social interactions that people are looking for, but it also can give you just that little bit of income that can pay the grocery bill or pay the light bill, and that takes a little bit of stress off your dividend portfolio, so you don't have to draw that down as much. And this is especially true when there is a downturn in the market and some companies are cutting their dividend, or there's other challenges, say the stock prices are dropping. You might want to reinvest those dividends versus take them out. And by working part-time, it allows you the flexibility to do that. Now, that is optional, but it is something that can supercharge, and it allows you to have a little bit smaller nest egg. The last thing here is potentially look at real estate. Now, I'm not a real estate investor right now. I plan to eventually get real estate one day. My main focus is on building my portfolios. But real estate, it's a different type of income. So you're not relying solely on dividends, and you are able to use that real estate to live off of. And generally, they don't always go hand in hand. When there's a downturn in the stock market, there's not always a downturn in the real estate market. Sometimes there is, but a lot of times there isn't. And likewise, in real estate, when real estate's beaten down, the stock market's not always doing bad. So it just gives you a level of flexibility, gives you a level of, if you do have some real estate income coming in, you don't need as big a nest egg. You don't necessarily need to get as high of yield because you have that real estate income or that side job income. So this is just something to consider. It's definitely doable to retire strictly from your dividend portfolio, but these things can give you a level of comfort, kind of help build in that margin of safety, and allow you to potentially retire earlier because there's less risk when your income's coming from dividends, maybe working part-time in real estate, or dividends, a small side business, and real estate or something like that. Every time you add a layer, it removes a level of risk, and it potentially makes you be able to retire in an earlier fashion with a smaller nest egg. So it's just something to consider. All right, guys, I hope you like this video. Don't forget to subscribe, and if you do have any questions, ask down in the comments.